This video is possible thanks to contributions to the Existence University Patreon by viewers like you. Thank you. The Neuro-Philosophy of Fun. Math, language, and science start with play. The idea is simple. All animals have fun because the world is strange. Let me explain. Starting at the most abstract level, science exists as a strict guide and methodology for discovering facts and truths. The structure of science, that being a required level of rigor and logical consistency, are conceptually laid out rules for getting to reality properly, because otherwise mistakes will be made and the result will not be a fact or truth. These rules are formed from the nature of mathematics and language, mathematics being a type of language. Mathematics and language are first and foremost means of thinking, both being composed of concepts which each individual needs to focus on in order to get it into their brain. Concepts are formed from perceptual experiences and from abstract reasoning, the tools of which all ultimately are tied back to reality by perceptual experience. The question that helps us get to that simple idea at the start reads as follows. Humans are the only animal that are currently using concepts to navigate their animal existence. What need was there to develop a conceptual framework, structure, language, when so clearly it is unnecessary for animal life? The simplest answer that I can think of is, because there is something more to learn about the stuff. That knowledge is power. Power is the capacity, faculty, aptitude, or ability to act or do something effectively. Efficiency has a natural benefit to the individuals that can achieve it. Now, this will not be my argument, but it is a commonly held belief or argument about animal play, so I need to address it so as to distinguish it from my point in this video. That being, this efficiency being beneficial is the major contributor to animal play. That being that it is a safe and fun means of training one's skills of survival. My argument sits underneath that one. For it is obvious that mammals and animals of all sorts play by doing that which benefits their survival, e.g., hunting and wrestling/fighting. But just because play can include pretending, that is not the only form of play, nor does it fully explain why play is fun. Play, by those that make the first argument, have a set of criteria of what counts as play, which goes counter against their argument for why play exists. The criteria of what makes play play are the following. 1. Voluntary participation. 2. Repeated behavior. 3. Lack or obvious function or purpose. 3. Intrinsic reward. 5. Differences from other behaviors performed for specific reasons. I want to focus in here on intrinsic reward, and that this helps explain the initial idea, which again was, quote, all animals have fun because the world is strange, end quote. The fastest and easiest way to make an animal play is to introduce something unexpected to their perceptions. It's a basic premise to a joke, to humor in general. You set them up, then you knock them down. You make them think that you're going in one direction, that they understand the world, and that everything is as they believe it to be. Then you hit them with the punchline. Something totally different. Something that still makes sense. It's not just a nonsense lie. But that to make sense of it, you need to release your grasp on the concept that made sense to you. That made sense of the world in that sense. It is not good manner to explain a joke, because the fun is in thinking you were ahead of the speaker, only to find yourself the fool. And a very good comedian will make you experience that feeling while retaining the sense that you, the audience member, are not the fool for having thought that, but rather the comedian is a fool for having said that kind of mistake. For example, to now explain a joke, why is the math textbook sad? Because it had too many problems. The premise and setup of the joke are already unexpected and not entirely based on reality. Math textbooks exist, sadness exists, but the two together? Absurd! But if we play pretend, extend our concepts, add in magic for play, math textbooks get sad? Why? I don't know, maybe because his girlfriend broke up with him, or maybe he failed an exam. The punchline being, math textbooks have problems. Which is a statement itself which is just plainly true. That's exactly what makes it a textbook. So, the joke being, ultimately, that the comedian is a fool that doesn't know how words work. For if you overanalyze the joke, it's not funny, because it loses truth at the deeper level, that being that a sentient textbook would have problems outside of his DNA, that the problems that make him are not his problems, that they are just his cells. So it would be like saying that a person is sad because all of his DNA are in cells, meaning prisons. The word cell has two different meanings, and so does the word problems. And, just because they are in the exact same spelling, and even in similar meaning, it would not logically suggest that a sentient textbook would be problemed by the fact that he contains problems. Ultimately, what makes for a good joke is that the audience feels good about getting the correct reality-based, logic-based, pattern-based, properly natural answer, and gets there by experiencing another logical-based answer, but one that makes the speaker look foolish for saying it, as it doesn't fit the pattern or match reality properly. A joke in general is just that level of unexpectedness in the conceptual chain of thought. We can slide this unexpectedness, jokes in a sense, all the way back to the perceptual level. The perceptual level is a lot more powerful of a knowledge base compared to what most people think. For example, the human exercise of free will is very much tied to our conceptual abilities. And, as animals, we can survive pretty well without concepts, i.e., without the full exercise of free will. And so, we end up automizing some of our most simple activities to an almost perceptual, automatic level. In some cases we do. And then later, in a discussion about free will, we choose to think about memories, about the times that we did something without thinking about it. For example, the time we drove to work without thinking. And then we argue that that means that we must not have free will. A lot of people make this type of free will argument because they are not aware of how powerful and useful perceptual knowledge and/or automation is to the animals and their survival. This perceptual level of knowledge is what allows an animal to have knowledge of cause and effect. Given that animals, besides humans, cannot conceptualize, this leaves them only with experiential memory knowledge about objects. Given enough repeated exposure of the same cause and effect events, this causes boredom. Boredom being caused by a lack of stimulation in the brain due to efficient wiring together of information, and due to the fact that stillness and sameness are the antithesis to life. To sense and to live at all require action and change. No change causes both sense receptor failure and death. Fun and boredom are opposites because boredom is expected and fun is unexpected. Fun then is that intrinsic reward of play. It is an intrinsic reward, as it is the opposite of that which is bad for life. At the conceptual level, this unexpectedness can be solved a bit by generalizing the similar and omitting the differences. But the world is stranger than we can categorize into general forms. And so, eventually, we will find some object which is like an apple, which is not apple enough to simply be an apple, but will not be different enough to call it any other fruit. And so, biological taxonomy begins. And it does so by a means of laughing at reality for having made a fool of us again. Just as you think things are one way, it turns out they are in a totally different way. And it simply is the case that life is funny like that.
This video is possible thanks to contributions to the Existence University Patreon by viewers like you. Thank you.